Hi Math 98. We are going to go over lesson 3.3 today. This is one we would have done on Monday, but my audio was acting up a little bit, so I said we'd just do a video about it. Alright, so if you look at lesson 3.3, in the P&L you were talking about some different area formulas, and we'll be using those in here. So please make sure you did the P&L before you're watching this to do lesson 3.3. Okay, so if we look at the first page of lesson 3.3, this lesson is called the Fixer-Upper. Talks about, it's a personal finance context. So it says, Bob and Carol Mazursky have purchased a house and the small piece of land that surrounds the house. A small piece of land that can be purchased or sold is often called a lot. Bob and Carol want to make some improvements to their new property. In the following few problems, you will calculate the costs of these improvements. Scale drawings of the house and the lot are displayed after the problems. You will need these drawings to calculate improvement costs. Okay, so if you look on figure 1, it's after all the problems. And you see that you have there the drawing, a scale drawing of their lot. Okay, so if you look at figure 1, the dark line all the way around the lot is all the way around is the border of their lot. The house is that dark part in the middle. And the driveway is the line that comes in from the left. Okay, so the front of their house is that white part, and the back of their house is the shaded part. Okay, the lightly shaded there. So that's the part that they want to reseed. We're not going to worry about figure 2 for right now. Okay, that comes later. So they want to reseed their lawn there, which is the dark, the shaded part of that figure. Okay, so the first question asks you to look at figure 1 and think about what the scale means. So the scale is in the upper right-hand part of the picture, and it looks like this. Okay, so this says 20 feet, and this says 30 feet. Now what I don't have up here is those grid lines behind it. So if you look, there are those grid lines behind it, kind of go like this, but a little better. All right, so when you look at this, we make these so they're a little darker. When you look at this, the 20 feet is the width of 2 of these boxes, right? 20 feet goes from here to here. And 30 feet is the width of 3 of those boxes. So often when you see a scale on a map, it might say something like, you know, this far is 2 miles, and then another distance is so many kilometers. It might have 2 different scales. Here, this is really showing you the same thing, just in 2 different ways, okay? So if 2 boxes is 20 feet, and 3 boxes is 30 feet, then obviously we can tell that each box represents 10 feet. Okay, now that's just a straight measurement. Okay, when we're talking about feet, we're just getting from point A to point B. It's just a straight measurement. When we talk about area, then we're talking about measuring this direction and this direction, and it gives us all of the inside space. So we'll be talking about both of those things, but the length for now is just what we're given with these boxes. So each box is 10 feet. All right, so we decided the scale means that each box is a length of 10 feet. Okay, and they're squares, so it goes both ways. So the length of a box going up and down is also going to be 10 feet. Okay, so number 2 says, Bob and Carol want to get the backyard fertilized and reseeded. They found an ad for Jerry's Green Team Lawn Service, which can be seen here. So on the next page, we see this Jerry's Green Team Lawn Service. And it has itemized costs. It tells how much grass seed is, how much fertilizer is, and how much labor is. So it says Jerry came to their house and said that the job would take about half a day and would cost about 600 feet. Sorry, 600 feet. $600. Let's try that instead. It cost about $600. Is Jerry's estimate consistent with his advertisement? Why or why not? So let's just think about what we need to know first. Jerry said that altogether it's going to cost about $600. My pen's dying. About $600 to reseed and fertilize that lawn. Okay, so that's their estimate, and it would take half a day. All right, so if we want to figure out from his ad, is this really what it's going to cost? Well, we can see that we're going to need grass seed, we're going to need fertilizer, and the labor is what we're paying for the people to work. So we will need all of those things. We will need grass seed, the cost of the grass seed, plus the cost of the fertilizer, plus the cost of labor. That's going to give us our total cost. So our job here is to decide if, when we figure out the total cost, should it be what he gave us as an estimate, right? Or is he, giving us a number that's way too low and we're going to pay more? Or is he giving us a number that's way too high and he's trying to charge us more? Or is he right on track with what he should give us? Okay, so we know how much grass seed costs per pound. We know how much fertilizer costs per pound. Okay, let's just start with those two before we get to the labor for a minute. And we know that how much each pound, or a bunch of pounds, how much lawn that would cover. Okay, so if I want to figure out how much grass seed I need, how much grass seed is going to cost me, then I need to know how much grass seed I need, right? Because I'm just paying for whatever I need. Well, how am I going to find out how much grass seed I need? Well, in order to do that, I need to know how big the lawn is, right? Because if I have a teeny little lawn, it's going to cost me a lot less in grass seed and fertilizer, and probably labor also, than if I have a big, huge lawn. And if I look at this, the size is given in square feet, right? For grass seed, it's 4 pounds for 1,000 square feet. Fertilizer, it's 50 pounds for 12,000 square feet. So I'm going to need to know how many square feet Bob and Carol's lawn is. So if we think about how we can do that, we want to look back at that figure 1, after the problems, where we looked at the scale. Okay, we need to know how big in square feet their backyard is. All right, so if I look at that, the way I can tell how big that is because of that scale and because of that grid that's behind the shaded part. So there are a couple different ways you can work with this to figure it out, because it's a little bit of an uneven shape. So the backyard, we see, kind of looks like this, okay, roughly. It's a little wider, but you get the idea. All right, here's the house, here's the driveway, this is the front yard. We don't need to reseed that, we only need to reseed the back. All right, so it's a little bit of an odd shape, but I see some shapes that I know in there. So one trick when you're finding the area, which you're trying to find how much area is in here, the area of an unusual shape is to break it up into shapes that you know. So now, normally, this is where I'd send you off in your groups and you'd have to just kind of work through it and push through it, okay? So I would like to ask you to pause the video for a few minutes and just take a few minutes to see what could you break this up into. Break it up into 2 parts. And then can you find the area? Okay, now I do want to bring your attention to one thing just to kind of keep you from having to redo something later, okay? If you look at the outside, the dark border, if you look at those light grid lines, which are really light on here, this top border kind of goes in between 2 grid lines, okay? So if you count how many boxes are on this side right here, we actually have 11 and a half boxes. Up here, here's my half a box. Okay? It kind of looks like it's a whole one, but really, and if you get a little bit off, that's fine. We're doing an estimate. So if we, have slightly different in class, generally that's fine. But I just want to kind of keep you on the right path since I'm not walking around to check how you're doing. So This, all the way up to the top, is 11 and a half boxes. There are 11 full boxes and then a little half up there. Okay, everything else is on an actual box. All right, so I would ask you to stop the video for a few minutes, look at that, see how you can break it up. Okay, and then we'll come back and go over that. Okay, so I'm trusting that you tried it on your own, because you know if we were in class, I wouldn't be answering questions right now, would I? Be having you try it on your own or go spy on another group. Okay, so if I look at this, there are a couple different ways I could split it up. I could split it up like this and say, okay, here's a rectangle and here's another rectangle. And that's perfectly fine. So let's do it this way, and then I'll kind of show you a couple other ways. So if I want to do this, remember this is how many boxes, okay, not how many feet. So if I split it here, then I have 6 boxes going up this side and 13 boxes going across. So if I think about the actual lengths, just so I don't get confused, this is going to be 60 feet going this way, 130 feet going this way. I don't know if you can hear, my kids are yelling back and forth to each other from their rooms. One of them sneezed, the other one yelled, bless you. Anyway, so 60 feet by 130 feet for this rectangle. Okay. If I look at this part is 5.5 boxes. Multiply that by 10, we're going to get 55 feet. This length here is slightly bigger. It's 14 boxes. So it's 140 feet. So in order to figure out this area of a rectangle is length times width. So 130 times 6 is going to, times 60. 130 times 60 is going to be 7,800 square feet, right? Because think about if I have 60 feet going this way and 130 this way, I'm making all these little squares. Each of them is a box that's 1 foot on each side, a square foot. Up here, I have 140 times 55 is going to be 7,700 square feet. So altogether, the area of their backyard is going to be 15,500 square feet. Okay, let's just look at it if you did it one of the 2 other ways you could have split this up. You also could have split it up like this. Big rectangle, little rectangle. In this case, this is 130 and this is 115, right? 11 and a half times 10, 13 times 10. So that gives us 14,950 square feet. Now this little piece is the piece that always gives people trouble. Because people say, okay, they realize that this is 5.5 boxes, which is 55 feet. Then they want to say, oh, it's just one. Well, it's one box, but it's 10 feet, right? So that's 550 square feet. Which, again, these 2 are going to give you that same area. Okay. A third way you could have done it would be, let me write it in green here, to take this and instead make this a bigger rectangle, right? Pretend it's this green rectangle, which would be 140 times 115. And then you could take away, this would be what, 60 right here, or 600, sorry, 60 times 10 would be 600. So you could then take that away, okay? But any of those ways, we should have gotten 15,500 square feet. So that's our area. So we need that because I don't know, I mean, think about if you're painting a house or seeding your lawn or whatever, how much paint do you buy? Well, it makes a big difference whether you have a big room or a little room, right? I need the size of my room before I know how much paint to buy or how much flooring to buy or whatever. Okay, so now that we know this is the area, now we can find each of these 3 parts of the cost to figure out what the total cost is going to be. All right, so I'm going to stop this video because it's getting long, and then I'll be right back and we'll figure those things out.